Do you regard black magic as being purely fictitious, or is there some truth in it?
Some truth. 100% truth. There is nothing fictitious about black magic, in any way whatever. It is a fact. It is a fact which has existed for several thousand years. I mean, when we talk about black magic, we are talking about Satanism, necromancy, alchemy, witchcraft, the worship of Satan, the worship...
Okay, so first things first, I just wanted to thank everybody for the kind messages I've been receiving. I see a lot of you are coming into this from a totally blank slate and you're new to this information, and that's real good to see. That makes me happy because we definitely need more critical thinkers in the world. And it's for this reason I've kind of steered away from the longer, more intricate videos that go on for like half hour and connect 20 different numbers, because it's not really helpful when you're just getting into this stuff. Obviously I do know I have my quote unquote adepts out there who understand everything I say, but you know, nonetheless my point is that whether you're new to this or you're well aware and you've been doing this, I'll try to bring something new to every video to satisfy both parties. Speaking of parties, today we're looking at the Nazi Party. And before we dive into this, I just want to say a huge thank you to my good brother Candleman, who put together a fantastic presentation that inspired me to go on and actually make this video. And I'm going to leave the link to some of his posts in the description, and I implore you to check them out, because he knows his fucking stuff, man. Flick through his Reddit profile, you'll see some excellent stuff in there. So with his permission, obviously, we spoke, and I'm going to be building on his work, adding what I know and reinforcing the fantastic points that have already been made. For this video we're going to be focused on the 88 code, so the number 88. And there are a lot more numbers to this riddle, but it's important that we tackle them one at a time. So the next video we'll look at the 33, but for now we're going to look at the 88, Hitler and the Nazi Party. Okay, so let's begin. We all know this flag here. I've spoken about this flag before, and it was implemented in 1933 and was used as a national German flag after 35 all the way up to 45 to the end of World War II. Now the swastika is a SS wheel cross that forms a vortex hole that creates a black disc, as you can see. And the esoteric meaning behind this flag represents an eclipse with corona surrounded by blood. Now if you didn't know, the sun's corona, as it says here, is the outermost part of its atmosphere and is typically hidden by the light coming from the sun's surface. However, during a total eclipse, this corona is visible. So put perfectly by Candleman, the black disc represents the moon occulting the sun in an act of totality during an eclipse. The white ring represents corona, the ring of sunlight around the moon. The surrounding red represents the spilled blood of death and judgment. Okay, so that's some background on the flag. Now, the Nazi salute, Hail Hitler, as they say, raising a single arm in the sky. Hail Hitler numerically represents 88. H is the 8th letter, therefore it follows that HH is 88. HH also represents 16, because as you've probably already guessed, if you add up 8 and 8, you get 16. So now you know why the Gematria of Hail Hitler is 106, which is just 16 because you drop the 0. And it also sums to its reverse, 61. Another great point made by Candleman is that the raising of the hand esoterically represents the blocking or the occulting of the sun, like the moon, during an eclipse. So you can see here the clear link between the flag and this esoteric representation of the moon occulting the sun and the Nazi salute, which also represented this block out of the sun. As you can see here, the Nazi salute can be traced back to the Roman salute. So it's also no surprise that Roman also sums to 61, the reverse of 16. Yet again another link back to the HH, or the 16. Okay, so some more on 88. It also bears reference to the cycles of the sun and the moon. As you can see here in this post made by Candle, the shape in the sky is a clear 8. These bands of the celestial sphere extend about 8 degrees either side of the ecliptic. Therefore, their principal planetary motions vary 8 degrees either side. Being that it's drawing reference to the eclipse of the sun and the moon, we get the 88. So not only do they both vary by 8 degrees to each side of the ecliptic, but they also trace an 8 in the sky. So the moon and the sun, 88. A few more things I wanted to mention. There's also a total of 88 known constellations in our galaxy, and this has been a standard number for hundreds of years now. Also, the planet Mercury takes a total of 88 Earth days to rotate around the sun. Now, this is important because Mercury is also known as Thoth or Hermes, the father of Hermeticism. If you're familiar with the book The Kabbalion, then you will know all about this. Now, Hermetic philosophy underpins most modern day religions and science in some aspect. Much like Kabbalah is highly venerated doctrine in the occult. Now, Hitler was an occultist himself, and he was a student of none other than Helena Blavatsky. And her work in theosophy can be traced back to Hermeticism, so it's no surprise that we see more connections to the 88. The axiom, as above, so below, is also rooted in this. Now you know about the 88s in the sun and the moon, you can see how Hitler wove this axiom of as above, so below into his political narrative. I also found it interesting that radium has an atomic number of 88. And when we look at the periodic table, we see that radium is represented with an Ra, a Ra. Does that remind you of anything? Given what we know about the Egyptian god Ra and his ties to the sun, this here seems to make perfect sense. Also, when you write out 88 on a piece of paper, you can clearly see 2 8s is 4 circles individually next to each other. A circle is 360 degrees, so if we have 4 of those, we've got 4 times 360, which gives us 1440. Now, if you are unaware, there are actually a total of 1440 minutes in a day. Plus, if we take a look at the Gematria of time, we see it's 144, which coincides perfectly with the minutes in the day if you just drop the 0. And time is the principle of change, right? Change happens over time. Time permits change. Everything is always in motion or in flux. And this happens to be presented as a clear linear compositional sequence that we call time. Again, time permits change. So when we do 8 times 8, we get 64. Lo and behold, change also sums to 64. And remember what I said about Saturn as well, being father time? Well, Nike also sums to 64. And if you've seen my video on Nike, you'll know what is up there. I also find it interesting that the chief science that takes precedent when it comes to talking about the complexities of time and time travel and wormholes is quantum mechanics and quantum theory. And quantum mechanics also sums to 88, so it should be no surprise that we see this number make an appearance in Back to the Future. You know, there's that famous scene where the DeLorean has to be going 88 miles an hour to initiate the time travel event. And like the doc says, when this baby reaches 88 miles per hour, we're going to see some serious shit. And even that word serious shit was a reference to the constellation of Sirius, because it actually lines up with the sun in a special alignment when the Lion's Gate portal opens on the 8th of the 8th. However, that will be addressed in a different video because that is a totally different topic. But yeah, the 88 is in Back to the Future and has reference to time travel for a reason. So these thinly veiled references are pointing towards a bigger picture, I think, here, as you can see with this code 88. So now a quick swing back to Hitler and some of the great points put forward by Candle. He employed the famous 8.8 centimeter flat gun in World War II, which was quite literally a killing machine, and as Candle's already put, his reputation was infamous. Yet again, we see another implementation of this code 88 with this gun. Candle also found this great image of an 8.8 flak mounted on a Tiger 1 tank, And when I saw the number 319, it sparked a thought in my brain, because I found it incredibly ironic that when you write out 118 as a word, it sums to 319. And we all know that 118 is the death code. I've touched on that many times before. So they have the relation to the death number on the literal death machine. Not only that, but 319, Freemasonic also sums to 319, as does the Black Moon. And given what we know about the flag, I think that one speaks volumes right there. Now, the company that was responsible for actually making these weapons had a 6-pointed star with a H in the middle, or an 8. And the creator's name, as you can see here, sums to 144. Another reference back to this time number. Now, final point that I want to make is that we all know the 8th letter is H. And when we look at the letter H, it resembles 2 pillars. Particularly reminds me of the 2 pillars in Freemasonry, Jackin and Boaz. It also looks like a connection between 2 poles, or wormholes between 2 timelines, you could say. And they say that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, right? So the shortest distance between 2 timelines would be a straight line, and the letter H kind of represents that. And the fact that it's the 8th letter and 8 is tied in with this code, I think there's definitely something to the shape of letters. When you start to unpack these sort of nuanced bits of information, you kind of see it unfolding in front of your eyes. That was a little bit on the 88. Next part, we're going to be looking at 33 and its connections to the Nazi Party.